So I want to give a little bit of a story. I first started as a dancer before I shifted in professional theater. And if any of you ever danced before, done anything that's kind of on the stage, in rehearsals, usually our instructor or our choreographer will give you two options when it's time to run through an actual piece of choreography. You can either mark it, which means you are going through the motions, you are just getting into space. Like if your leg is supposed to be lifted at 90 degrees, it might only be like 40, but you are getting it in your body. You're just going through it, you're marking it. And then the other option is to do it full out. And full out means that you are doing it performance quality. You are leaving nothing, everything is left on that stage. Like your leg is above 90 if it needs to be. You are fully emoting on your face. Like it is performance quality as if an audience is there. So when I talk about going full out, that's what I mean. Like we are leaving nothing behind. We are doing it with everything in our body, every piece of our essence. That is what living full out means for me. And of course, it's in alignment with those things that we talked about in the clear method. And it looks different for each of us. But you can tell when someone is living full out because they are doing it in a way that just, it feels like, oh, there's nothing else that they can give here. That is living full out. And it's such a privilege to be able to do that and to inspire others to do it. And I love doing it with others too. I think that's really the purpose of our lives here is to live it full out and to help people do the same.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lived Experience podcast. Thanks for coming back. I'm your host, Dr. Tamea Ryan, and today I am so excited. I'm joined by Tanesha Moody, founder and CEO of Full Out Coaching. Tanesha is a speaker, purpose leadership coach, and creator of the Clear Method. She's dedicated to helping high achieving professionals, creatives, and multi passionate leaders reclaim their clarity, their purpose, amplify their voice, and take bold, values aligned action. Tanisha's journey began in high pressure corporate environments at companies like Salesforce, Disney, Marriott, so she understands the weight of burnout and the courage it takes to choose a more aligned path. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Tanesha. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful and excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And today we are going to get into not only what burnout looks like, but also how you can move past what we often feel is rejection. And Tanesha is going to drop some jewels for us today to help us move past that. So thank you again for being here to share your journey and your wisdom with us.
Well, thank you.
So, yes, I like to just kind of get started and jump right in and want you to take us through your corporate days at companies like Salesforce, Disney. What did that experience look like for you, and what did burnout show up as for you during that season of your life?
Thank you so much for starting here. It's actually really interesting. My professional career first started in professional theater as a stage manager, working in theater. I went and I got my BFA in stage management, worked in theaters all across the country, even on a Broadway First National Tour for Mean Girls the Musical as a stage manager. Theater was amazing. It gave me such unique opportunities and perspectives to work with diverse voices, and it opened up the door for me to actually step into corporate roles, first with Disney. And that was an events role with the Disney Event Group. And what was really interesting about that is I saw that theater and events are basically the same thing in so many ways. Events are like theater on fire, faster pace. You're bringing together something creative. You're working with a lot of diverse people and typically larger budgets. And Disney, that opportunity in events paved the way for other roles to open up to, such as leading teams, with Marriott, with Under Armour, Salesforce, and building teams from scratch and leading and developing people. And as I talk about this, I really recognize that my favorite thing about those roles were building people and helping them get to where they wanted to be. So it's a privilege to be able to do that now full time as a coach. And as I really think about it, though, I didn't really recognize that I was even burning out. Like I was doing things I was passionate about. I was so fulfilled. I was working long hours. I was working with creative people. But I was doing things that were in alignment with my values. So burnout wasn't even what I was really thought I was experiencing until I actually had a chance to step away and pause. And it was a layoff at Salesforce that gave me that opportunity for me to look back and be like, I was really going through the motions. I was living this life, working these roles, pouring into companies and things that just didn't really light me up inside as I thought that it should. So for myself, I didn't even know I was going through burnout until I looked in the back end.
Wow, thank you for that because that gives a different perspective than what a lot of us feel burnout represents. A lot of times we hear about burnout, you're just dreading going into work, you're feeling overwhelmed. And for you, it sounds like once you were able to connect with your peace or step away from that day to day, you had more clarity and I'm not sure this is really aligned with what I want in my life.
Exactly. And it's so challenging when you feel like you have on paper what you're supposed to have. When you think that this is the life that success looks like, you have the very large salaries, you have the consistency, things that feel like security and safety, and you don't realize though that it's not truly in alignment with why you were put here on this earth and what you're supposed to really contribute to the world. So that really
Yeah.
helped to cement things when it paused a little bit.
Thank you for that. And, I'm always trying to break down buzzwords. And, we hear a lot of talk about alignment. It's really popular now. But those of us who have been trying to live aligned lives, it's a real concept for us. But can you talk about what alignment means for you? What does that represent?
So for me, there's a dotted line between alignment and clarity. I feel like they go so hand in hand with each other. As I was navigating my layoff from Salesforce, I had a lot of time to really figure out what was really alignment for me. Like, what was that formula of my life that meant that I was in alignment, that it felt like it was good for myself? And as I was doing this work of working alongside God and spending a lot of time with Him, as well as my coaches, and of course with myself, I started to really paint a vision of what alignment really looked like for me. And that's actually where the clear method came from. I started to recognize that I wanted my life to be lived full out. Like I wanted a full out life, a large life that felt good. And for me, that meant that I had clarity on my purpose, which is the C in the clear method. And I was living with by my values. I was embodying my identity. I was aligning with courage, which meant I was doing some of those scary things like navigating rejection and doing things even though there's fear there. And I was rippling my impact so that I was serving people. So that connection between what a full out life looked like for myself helped me to build this clear method and help me to recognize that, okay, if I am honoring all of these pieces, if every day I'm contributing to fulfilling my purpose and I'm doing it in alignment with my values and I know who I am at my core, that's alignment for me. And honestly, that's how I see living full out too. I think that looks different for every person. However, each of us needs to start from that place of clarity of that purpose, the values, our identity, all of those things that are rooted on something that's a little bit deeper than us so that we can recognize, oh, this is an alignment and this isn't.
Yes. And, being aligned isn't always easy. I think sometimes people also feel like, oh, if I'm working towards what my values are, it's going to be easy. To me, it can be some of the most hardest work because you're going against maybe what others are doing, right? Or what's popular or what feels most comfortable. I love your signature philosophy. You weren't rejected, your offer was. Can you explain what that means and how you came to understand rejection in that way?
Yeah. So where that came from was actually me being in a season of rejection. I was navigating rejections left and right. Of course, if anyone's experienced a layoff before, the next like obvious thing that many people do is let me put my resume out there. Like there must be an opportunity that's aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And I was doing that at that time and I was getting great interviews and weird things would happen. I would get to the next stage and then the hiring manager would get laid off or they ran out of budget for it. I would be in an interview talking about like an events role and this person was talking about coaching. They were a coach internally and it just kind of seemed like those roles weren't what I was meant to do. So that also meant I was receiving a lot of no's in that season too. So no's from the job, no's from relationships and friendships, just no all around. And that's how I define rejection. Like anything that could have been a yes is rejection in my book. So it felt like there were a lot of no's that were coming at me. And during that season, I was doing a lot of work with my coaches as well as I mentioned with God and with myself personally. And I started to realized I was taking rejections really personally. Like I would submit a resume, get an email back, and I'm like they rejected me for who I am. Oh my goodness,
Right,
my friend doesn't want to hang out with me. They hate me. They reject me to my core. And I was like, this
hmm
is not right. This is not how this is
right,
actually going. So in the middle of that, I started to really work through and reframe and understand that, oh my goodness, it's my offer that I'm putting on the line that's being rejected. It's not me personally. My offer is
hmm
being rejected, not me. But again, I was only able to get to that point because I had such clarity about who I was, what my purpose was, my values, and to recognize that I could separate who I am intrinsically from that offer made it so much easier to see that reframe and be able to share it with others and tell people that really it's your offer that's being rejected, not you personally.
Yes, that separation is so important because that just leads to a cycle of, feeling down and dejected, and then we're afraid to go out for those opportunities again. You talk a lot about clarity, and you also talk about your purpose. What does it mean to you to clarify your purpose versus just setting goals or being passionate about something? And how do you help clients distinguish that difference?
I love this question. And when I look at purpose, I actually kind of see it as something that we're not actually finding, but we are actually uncovering. If we were to look at our lives up to this point, we have been living our purpose, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if we can't name it without sounding like we're reciting something from Shakespeare. We are already living our purpose right in this moment. And that kind of helped me to actually create something that practically allows people to find, name, and live their purpose. I call it the Ignis framework, and it starts, Ignis is actually Latin for fire. And if you think about a fire, like a fire actually starts from a spark. So similar to that, that spark in purpose is believing that I actually was created for something, that my life has meaning. And I feel like that's where a lot of us get caught up, is that we don't even believe that we exist for a reason. Some of us
Right.
don't even have that belief. So in Ignis, Spark is where we start with that. And then we start to uncover what I call fuel. So those are our gifts, our strengths, the things that we're just naturally good at. And then we get to
hmm
this part called kindling, which is the experiences that shaped us. And I think those are those things that we start to look at, like those rejection experiences, some of the negative things and the things that we struggle through. If we can kind of extract the data from like why I had to go through that, what that taught me, how that shaped me into the person that I am, that starts to recognize the little breadcrumbs of like, oh, all along I've been being shaped for this purpose. And then finally, the flame is all about the impact that we're here to create and who we're meant to serve. So I actually walk my clients through this Ignis framework to actually help them to discover their purpose. I also have it in an ebook format too for others. And people have successfully been able to find and actually name their purpose utilizing a purpose statement formula that they can hold true to. And that's the
Mhm.
beautiful thing about it. When you have clarity about your purpose, you can see which assignments are yours that tier up to fulfilling that purpose. You can find purpose in your job where you are right now. You might hate it, but there might be somebody that's part of your flame that you're meant to serve. It's going to help propel your purpose forward. So,
Mhm.
why I harp so much on that clarity is because when you have clarity on your purpose, you can recognize the assignments that you have right in this moment that are helping you to fulfill it and hopefully inspiring somebody else to fulfill their purpose too.
Thank you. I love that. And I love how you help people identify who they are, because the first thing when you ask someone, tell me about yourself, they go into their roles, right? Their job, they're a mother, they're this, they're that. And they identify themselves with these roles, which are great. But it's almost like they've lost touch. They've lost that sense of self on who they really are. And so, if you can start, what I hear you saying is, if you can start with you first, that's going to drive all those other assignments. That's going to drive you to the type of career or the type of job that fits you or that relationship that matches what you need. And so it has to start within you.
Definitely. 100%.
And I know you work with a lot of high achievers, and the thing with high achievers is they're always striving for more. They're always looking at what constitutes success. How do you help people pause, like you did that pause, right? You're in these high level positions, How do you help people to take that break and not get so caught up in the hustle mentality that we see today?
Yeah, that is so challenging, especially when you have like all of these different ways that success is portrayed from social media, from people in your life that are saying this is what success looks like. And how I work with the clients and the individuals that I have a chance to serve is that we start with that clarity. Like when you understand what success looks like for you, what living and leading and thriving full out looks like for you, it's easy to be like, okay, from there, I can create my own personal success formula. And that takes time and it might change. So, giving ourselves the grace to be like, okay, this is how it used to look for me previously, but it doesn't fit who I want to become right now. Being willing to give ourselves a little bit of grace to be like, it's okay that it's changing and to go with that and not be concerned about how somebody else might interpret it is such a privilege to walk alongside individuals that are trying to navigate that for themselves. And I know I had to do it too. And having the
Mhm.
people around you to support you and to be like, okay, if you do that your way, that's great. I'm doing it my way too. When you have that community around you that's living full out and they're walking in their purpose and fulfilling their assignments, if you have that around, it's easier to ripple your impact and actually create the life that you wish to.
Yeah, and I think fear keeps us stuck a lot of times, and rightfully so. No one wants to feel rejected. No one wants to feel like they fail. What guidance or advice would you give to someone who's going through that season, such as yourself, had experienced multiple rejections, feelings of failure? What advice would you give them to just being able to get started?
So when I look back on the clear method for myself, that A, which means to align with courage, that's where we're doing this type of work, where we're navigating the fear, the failures, the rejections, the things that are a little bit sticky that want to keep us stuck. I've recognized that there's a lot of different things and tricks that you can kind of have in your back pocket to be able to navigate these things. Definitely having the clarity that we've talked about, but also having the support around you too. I love being able to text one of my friends and be like, hey, I'm about to put my offer on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if I get a yes or a no, the fact that I did it, that's worth celebrating. Like we can even
Yeah.
celebrate if I get a no. Like there's so many gifts that come from a no. Rejections give data and feedback. There's so many gifts that are built into that that you can leverage. So when you put your next offer on the line, it's going to be even better and it's going to be in alignment with that yes that's coming along. But if I really were to kind of narrow down on the one thing that's going to be helpful to kind of navigate these things and to really truly align with courage, is if I could steal from Nike would be to just do it. We have to
Just do
do
it.
it scared. We have to do it scared. And the fact that we are doing it, regardless of the outcome, is a win. That's something that's worth celebrating. That's us proving that we are living our lives full out, regardless of how it ends up happening in the end.
Yes, just do it. Just get started. Getting started is often the hardest part. But once you keep going, keep practicing it day to day, you start to feel that courage. And you talk a little bit about courage, or a lot about courage in your work. Can you speak to us what courage represents for you? What does that look like for you?
I feel like courage represents the fact that I am living full out. Like it's so courageous to show up authentically as yourself. It's very courageous for you to do something knowing that there might be a no attached to it. And I recognize that if I do not do the scary things, I actually just posted about this today about doing the scary things on Mondays, which is
Yeah.
so great because you started off at the start of the week, you knock it off, you have built momentum to kind of keep going. And I recognize that if I don't successfully do things that are courageous, do things that are bold, there's potentially on the other side of that, somebody else might not be able to move forward. I might miss an opportunity to serve them and help them get to where they're meant to be. I might mistake something that impacts them not being able to successfully fulfill an assignment. So there's ripple effects that are attached to our obedience, especially for our Christians, as well as just us taking those courageous steps for what we're meant to do. So it's bigger than us. And I think that's really where I am starting to recognize like all of these things are attached. Our purpose is attached to somebody else's. The way that we serve and how we show up authentically can potentially inspire or encourage somebody else to do the same thing. So being
Mhm.
courageous not only means living full out, but it also means serving somebody else too.
Yes, yes. And that's where the joy comes in, right? When you can connect with other people and you're serving others by working with your coaching clients and sharing your lived experiences with them. How has your journey of redefining success shaped the way that you do coach others who are navigating career transitions or just reinvention?
I would say the thing that I come back to repeatedly is my success and my version of living full out is my own, and somebody else's is their own too. And I know for myself, I really kind of struggled throughout some of my relationships about having like these high expectations, not only for myself, but also people in my life too. There would be times where like I would be disappointed because maybe somebody didn't do something in the way that I thought that they should have, and
Mhm.
I was holding these standards to people that they had no idea were these standards for them,
Right.
and it really kind of having that aha moment of like, oh my goodness, how it looks for me doesn't have to look how it looks for somebody else has been
Mhm.
such a freeing privilege for myself and I think for my clients too. Being an ICF certified coach, especially throughout the training that I went through, we kind of have to have this like non-judgmental um, approach to how we show up in sessions, because our clients are the expert in their lives. Each of us is the expert in our lives. So being able to do that work within myself allows me to show up even more fully for my clients too, because I understand the depth that they're going through. And
Right.
I know that I've gone there too. And being able to just support them in that journey as they figure it out, however they need to figure it out, and cheerleading them on when they do what they wish to accomplish is such a privilege.
Yes, because you've done the work. So you know the challenges when they're like, I can't do this, because you were there at one point, and you're able to share how you were able to go through those challenges and come out and emerge on the other side. And so that's just wonderful to hear, and all of the work that you're doing. Can you break down the clear method again for the audience? Because I want to make sure that they get that, and then we're going to get into how folks can connect with you too. But can you break down that clear method for us again one more time?
Sure thing. So the clear method is my framework for living, leading, and thriving full out. And it is an acronym. So the C is clarify your purpose. L is to live your values. E, embody your identity. Align with courage for A. And of course, R, ripple your impact. And that is your clear method. And that's the framework for living full out.
Love it, love it. Now, where can folks connect with you? Your website? How can they get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm available on social media at Tanesha Moody on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn as well. And that is also the website too, Tanesha Moody. If you're interested in finding, naming, and living your purpose, I have my ebook for Ignis framework available online too, and some free resources in case you are navigating rejection right now or trying to live your life full out. Plenty of resources to help support you along this journey.
Thank you. And we'll make sure to have all that information down in the podcast description so folks can come back, follow you, watch this again, and really tap into just starting and reviewing how they view rejection itself, and having a new perspective on that, I think is going to help push people forward that might have been feeling stuck in that rejection. Or as you said, sometimes it's a season, sometimes the no's are coming down like raindrops, and you're like, what is happening? And when I've experienced that, and I know you have, you're almost like, okay, what's going on? And then before you know it, that opportunity that you needed does come forward, and you're like, okay, I understand now why that wasn't for me, and that person wasn't for me, that job wasn't for me, and it makes sense. But all of it is still learning moments. Even if you get that no, you still learn from it, as you said. I would love for you to leave us with, again, your definition of living full out, because I love that. I just love that phrase. I mean, when I heard it or when I saw it the first time, I said, I like that. That's different. It's like the shackles are off, you're free. So, talk to us again about living full out. What does that mean to you, and how can others get into that mindset as well?
Yeah. So I want to give a little bit of a story. I first started as a dancer before I shifted in professional theater. And if any of you have ever danced before, or done anything that's kind of on the stage, in rehearsals, usually our instructor or our choreographer will give you two options when it's time to run through an actual piece of choreography. You can either mark it, which means you are going through the motions, you are just getting into space. Like if your leg is supposed to be lifted at 90 degrees, it might only be like 40, but you are getting it in your body. You're just going through it, you're marking it. And then the other option is to do it full out. And full out means that you are doing it performance quality. You are leaving nothing, everything is left on that stage. Like your leg is above 90 if it needs to be. You are fully emoting on your face. Like it is performance quality as if an audience is there. So when I talk about going full out, that's what I mean. Like we are leaving nothing behind. We are doing it with everything in our body, every piece of our essence that is what living full out means for me. And of course, it's in alignment with those things that we talked about in the CLEAR method. And it looks different for each of us. But you can tell when someone is living full out because they are doing it in a way that just, it feels like, oh, there's nothing else that they can give here. That is living full out. And it's such a privilege to be able to do that and to inspire others to do it. And I love doing it with others too. I think that's really the purpose of our lives here, is to live it full out and to help people do the same.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest. Thank you for sharing your positivity, your energy, being vulnerable. That's what we need. And please follow Tanesha on Instagram, on all the things, LinkedIn, Facebook. Check out the website. Would love to have you back in the future. I know you're going to continue to do great things. And thank you again so much for taking the opportunity out to speak to my audience. And everyone, we will see you back in a couple of weeks for the next episode of the Lived Experiences podcast.
Thank you so much.